What's up, BoobTube? Josh here today, and today we're going to install a drop floor kit in the Miata, or, well, start cutting the floor out so that we can install it. So, 5X Racing sells a drop floor kit for spec Miatas to allow taller drivers to fit in. Well, with the type of seat that I'm running, you kind of have to have the drop floor for it to work. So, they have an awesome YouTube tutorial on how to cut everything out, where to measure, to cut, and everything else. So I'm going to dive into that and get started cutting, and I'm going to set the camera up and kind of do like a time-lapse thing and stop and explain anywhere that I might run into issues that you possibly could run into issues. So let's get going. Alright, so from that clip you saw that I've got all of it marked out. You can see my dribbles and stuff like that, but anyways, it's pretty easy. It's a 1 3/4 inch from the back to the line all the way across. Supposedly this one is supposed to be 1.5 inches from this seam, which it's close to that. This line is 22 1/4 all the way across the top, and then you come down and you just trim it right down the brace here, and you cut this bracket out, and then you trim down this floor joist over to the corner and then back to where that lines up. So I'm gonna get started cutting. I got a 3/4 used cutting wheel, but this should cut pretty easily since it's just sheet metal, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. The floor brace that runs underneath in the middle here, they have some trick stuff that they like to do where they use a sawzall and they cut it at an angle so that it's easier to weld the brace in before we put the floor in, and it makes it look all nice and actually structurally better. But when we get to that point, I will show you me doing that. Other than that, I'm going to get to cutting, put some earplugs in, and make a lot of noise and a lot of grinding dust. So let's get to it. All right, holes out. Camera died, ran out of footage, whatever. So far, so you see what I was talking about when you cut the supports at an angle. That way it fits the bar just perfectly, and then you can just seam weld this up real nice, and it has a good finish to it. Had one little boo-boo where it cut too deep into the shell, but I'm not too worried about that because this car's gonna have a roll cage. So I'll patch this. I don't know, with a piece of sheet metal, or just use the support that comes with the seat bracket. So let me go grab that so we can do a test fit of it and see how much needs to be massaged everywhere, but I don't think don't think we'll have to do anything anywhere, so should be good. Man, I would say that test fit is a success. So clearly, what I said, I am going to have to actually patch that, because I thought that this came up a little bit higher on the shell, but it doesn't. But I mean, it just sat right down in there. Very easy instructions. If you plan on doing this, there's a couple on the market. This one's a little more than Advanced Auto Sports, but the 5X one is definitely much easier to install than Advanced Auto Sports. I've done the Advanced Auto Sports one, and the problem with it is it all comes in like pieces, and like this is not all one piece and nice like this one is, so you just have to weld it up once you get it fitted. But that was much easier than I thought it was going to be. Now it's a whole lot of, I got to clean up seam weld on this right here so it'll weld, and also so it'll sit flush, because right now underneath the car you can see that there is a gap between the subframe reinforcement and the actual pan. So, and that's with the reinforcement pushed all the way up. So it does need to come down a little bit, but you can see there's seam weld underneath this lip, so it should set flush once I get that removed. So I'm gonna tackle that probably after back racing it, well, not racing, but at least crewing at Road Atlanta. So that's this weekend for me, but at least I have a start on this. I wanted to get this in and finished up. That way when I get the roll cage kit, I'll already be able to have my seat kind of placed where I want it, and I can, because you technically build a roll cage around a seat. That's how you determine where your shoulder bar, or not your shoulder bar, but your crossbar behind your seat is, because you want it to be, you kind of want it to be level or above your shoulders. That way it doesn't crush you in the seat in a rollover. It holds you in the seat instead. So with that, man, this look at all this garbage that's in this thing just because I have no parts and crap. So gonna stop here for the day. Gotta do some house chores before I leave tomorrow. So gotta get all that situated and then get ready to go to Road Atlanta. So gonna end this in the video off here. I'll finish the video before this gets uploaded, so you'll see it then. See you guys. All right, so I'm at a stopping point. I gotta move the truck so that I can move the welder, so that I can have access to an outlet so that I can weld on the car, because I don't have an outlet that's close enough to where the car sits for me to be able to weld inside the crew compartment. Go ahead and show you what I've got going on here. So made a patch for my hole out of some of the scrap that I used to cut the transmission tunnel out, and that's gonna fit perfectly right there, and weld that up, and that'll be perfect. All the surfaces are prepped. I took a wire wheel to it first, and then came back across it with a sander to get it nice and clean, and it's all prepped all the way around, and down on the frame rails are all clean as well. So what I will do, once I can get this moved to weld, is set this up on here, put the pan in, go underneath and tack where that needs to be on both ends. That way it's centered on the pan so that the pan sits as low as it can. And then I will take the pan back out and finish weld around the outsides and down on the bottom, and then set the pan in and finish weld it that way, and then finish weld all the way around the outside. For now, I gotta stop because the RX-7 is sitting in front of the garage door, and the truck is sitting in the spot where I need to push the Miata, and there's snow on the ground outside. So this will have to wait till probably sometime early next week for me to be able to actually move this around so that I can get to welding. So we'll be back when I can weld on it. All right, boob tube. got it all welded. I actually just welded it instead of recording because it's just welding, and you can go watch videos all over the internet of people welding. So let's go ahead and get turned. So I actually ended up moving everything around just so that I could plug my welder in and weld. But it is all welded up, so it looks good too. So it was actually much easier to do than I thought. It was about 4 hours of welding total to get it all done. And I'm not a professional welder, but I would consider myself to be a pretty competent welder. So it wasn't too bad. I did, though, end up using my whole tank of mix because I set it, and then I went to welding, and I looked over, and it was running at 30 to 35 cubic feet per minute, and I don't know why, because I set it for 20. So at some point, I don't know if I like bumped it throughout the thing, but I used almost a whole tank of mix. I've got a supplier right down the road, and I think it's like $40 something to exchange a tank. Well, that was a few weeks ago. There's no telling what it is now. But anyways, my piece that I had to cut out and weld in worked out perfect, and then just beating on all that stuff to get it in there, and it should be nice and sturdy. Got your seatbelt holes. Next is, I guess I can unbox the seat and throw the seat in and see where we are with that. So I'll be right back. All right. So the seat is in. Well, test fitted in. Fits in the back, doesn't in the front. So I'm gonna have to borrow a Porter Power or something to flex the trans tunnel right there a little bit, and maybe over here on the rocker a little bit. But the back fits. Got plenty of room to swivel around, which is perfect. So pretty excited about that. And it's, I mean, pretty low. It should put your head, I mean, way down in here, hopefully nice, and because I mean the hard top's got to come up a little bit and then over, so should keep the head nice and low and away from the roll cage, which is the whole point of doing a drop floor. If you don't do a drop floor, you have to run an insane amount of rear lean in the seat if you have anybody that's tall. Well, everybody that I know will end up racing with me in this car is my height or shorter. So as long as I fit, everybody else will fit. But yeah, so big progress this weekend, even though I was supposed to be at the racetrack, and you know, crazy Tennessee weather seemed to follow us to Road Atlanta. So at least I made some progress on something, even though we weren't able to have fun at the racetrack. So until next time, guys, happy rapping.